Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Hey Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashoda Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Astoru Shishimata Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijacharya Astoru Shishimata Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Anandikoti Vaishnavrinda Ki Namachari Saridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Navdeep Dham Ki Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya Ki Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Gaur. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tam Enam Anga Atmani Mukta Vigrahe Vyapasritam Nirugunam Ekam Aksharam Atmanam Anvicha Vimuktam Atmadrik Yasmin Idam Bedam Asat Pratiyate Tamena Mangatmani Mukta Vigrahe Vyapi Sritam Nirugunam Ekam Aksharam Atmanam Anvicha Vimuktam Atmadrik Yasmin Idam Bedam Asat Pratiyate Tame Tamena Mangatmani Mukta Vigrahe Vyapasitam Nirugunam Ekam Aksharam Atmanam Anvicha Vimuktam Atmadre Yasmin Idam Bedam Asat Pratiyate Tamena Mangatmani Mukta Vigrahe Vyapasritam Nirugunam Ekam Aksharam Atmanam Anvicha Vimuktam Atmadre Yasmin Idam Bedam Asat Pratiyate Tamena Mangatmani Mukta Vigrahe Vyapasitam Nirugunam Ekam Aksharam Atmanam Anvicha Vimuktam Atmadre Yasmin Idam Bedam Asat Pratiyate Tamena Mangatmani Mukta Vigrahe Vyapasitam Nirugunam Ekam Aksharam Atmanam Anvicha Vimuktam Atmadre Yasmin Idam Bedam Asat Pratiyate Tamena Mangatmani Mukta Vigrahe Vyapasitam Nirugunam Ekam Aksharam Atmanam Anvicha Vimuktam Atmadre Yasmin Idam Bedam Asat Pratiyate Tamena Mangatmani Mukta Vigrahe Vyapasritam nirugunam ekam aksharam Atmanam anvicha vimuktam atmadre Yasmin idam vedam asat pratiyate Tamena mangatmani mukta vigrahe Vyapasritam nirugunam ekam aksharam Atmanam anvicha vimuktam atmadre Yasmin idam vedam asat pratiyate Tam, him, enam, that, anga, my dear Dhruva, atmani, in the mind, mukta vigrahe, free from anger, vyapasritam, situated, nirgunam, transcendental, ekam, one, aksharam, the infallible Brahman, atmanam, the self, anvicha, try to find out, vimuktam, uncontaminated, atmadrik, facing towards the super soul, yasmin, in which, idam, this, bedam, differentiation, asat, unreal, pratiyate, appears to be. Translation: My dear Dhruva, please therefore turn your attention to the Supreme Person who is the infallible Brahman. Face the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your original position, and thus by self-realization you will find this material differentiation to be merely flickering. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The living entities have three kinds of vision according to their positions in self-realization. According to the bodily concept of life, one sees differentiation in terms of varieties of bodies. The living entity actually passes through many varieties of material forms. But despite all such changes of body, he is eternal. When living entities therefore are viewed in the bodily concept of life, one appears to be different from another. Lord Manu wanted to change the vision of Dhruva Maharaj, who was looking upon the yakshas as different from him or his enemies. Factually, no one is an enemy or a friend. Everyone is passing through different types of bodies under the law of karma. But as soon as one is situated in his spiritual identity, he does not see differentiation in terms of this law. In other words, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochati na kangsati Shama Sharvaishi Bhutesu Mad Bhakti Labhate Param. A devotee who is already liberated does not see differentiation in terms of the outward body. He sees all living entities as spirit souls, eternal servants of the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj was advised by Lord Manu to see that vision. He was specifically advised to do so because he was a great devotee and should not have looked upon other living entities with ordinary vision. Indirectly, Manu pointed out to Dhruva Maharaj that out of material affection, Dhruva thought of his brother as his kin, and the yakshas as his enemies. Such observation of differentiation subsides as soon as one is situated in his original position as an eternal servitor of the Lord. Yes, again. Translation again. My dear Dhruva, please therefore turn your attention to the Supreme Person who is the infallible Brahman. Face the Supreme Personality of Godhead in your original position, and thus by self-realization you'll find this material differentiation to be merely flickering. So in the Bhagavad Gita we find that Lord Krishna in the second chapter speaks about the eternality of the soul and how we are existing eternally. Specifically the verse, Na tu evam jatu nasam na tvam nema janatipa na cheva na bhavisyama sarva bhayam ataparam. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all the kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So Krishna is saying, in the past I was Krishna, in the present I am Krishna, and in the future I will be Krishna. And all these kings who are assembled here, they are also individuals in the present, in the past, and in the future. So even Arjuna, he existed in the past, he'll exist in the present and in the future. So it's talking about the eternality of the soul. And Prabhupada in that particular purport speaks about how Krishna immediately defeats the Mayavad concept of oneness of the Supreme. We hear this so often. And then, because if you analyze what we just said, he does not say that in the future Arjuna and the kings will become one with him. Nor does he say that it will become formless in the past. Now that he's assumed this form, and in the future again he will become formless. But Krishna is very, very clear, talking about the eternality and the individuality of the spirit soul. So, in the verse, in the purport, Prabhupada talks about that particular verse from the Bhagavad Gita 1854. What's it? We just read it now. Brahmabhuta Prasanatma. You know that verse? Yeah. So, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he gives his commentary on this particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita. And he specifically comments on the word labhate. And he translates it as attains. Because bhakti is already there, but it's not so much perceived. And one practices, And the way he explains it is just as, you cannot see the super soul within the heart, so that devotion may not be perceived. And therefore he says that instead of saying he performs devotional service, the Lord says he attains a devotional service. So there's a difference. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives that example. It's just like a person keeping gold and gems within the mixture of some beans, like a can of beans or a bottle of beans. But when you remove the beans, the gold and gems remain. They were already present there, and they become like the hearing and chanting. What we're referring to, the gold and gems which are already present, is like the hearing and chanting. The process of devotional service becomes separately available in its pure form. Is it okay? Yeah. So the bodily concept of life, there's like, even, like if you listen to Prabhupada's lectures, he almost doesn't miss it anyway. He always brings it up from time to time, that you're not the body, your spirit, soul. And if there's like so much repetition of it, how do you feel when you read or hear about it? How do you feel, if I may ask? You feel enthusiastic? You don't think, well, this person, can't he speak about something else? No. So that's good. Because, yes, we're not the body, but we, spirit, soul, we hear it so often. Because if you don't like it, and if you feel we shouldn't be speaking about that, and if you don't like it, implies that you take yourself as the body, because you don't want to hear these things. So somebody who's like practicing Krishna consciousness should appreciate the point that I'm not the body but spirit, soul. There's a verse I was reading last night. It was a good verse from the 3rd canto, and it's talking about the body of such a liberated yogi, along with the senses, is taken charge by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it functions until its destined activities are finished. The liberated devotee, being awake to his constitutional position, and thus situated in samadhi, the highest perfectional stage of yoga, does not accept the byproducts of the material body as his own. Thus he considers his bodily activities to be like the activities of a body in a dream. And by reading this verse, you may have many questions. Like, as long as the liberated soul is in contact with the body, why don't the bodily activities affect him? Or doesn't he actually become contaminated by the action and reaction of material activities? So, the answer is given in the verse itself that we just read, that for a liberated soul, the senses are controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And, it's not acting due to the living force of the living entity. It is simply acting as a reaction to past activities. And the famous example given about the fan, when the fan is switched off, it goes on for some time, but is not going on for some time due to the current, electrical current, but its continuation is due to the last movement. So same how a liberated soul may be acting just like an ordinary man, but his actions are to be accepted as a continuation of his past activities. Like that. Similarly, like a liberated soul, may have like the byproducts may be children, wife, house, but he does not identify himself with these bodily expansions. So that's like we'll talk about attachment to ourselves, how we are attached in different ways to children, grandchildren, and so many things. Yeah. So here in the purport also, it was talking about Sri Raghunath ki. So devotees, we engage in devotional service, and we feel an ever increasing fresh and new in all our activities. We feel it's fresh, and that inspiration, that freshness is made possible by the super soul within, and that makes us very jubilant and happy. It's not like we feel, it's like how Prabhupada writes it in the purport, we don't feel hackneyed or stereotyped, or we don't feel that we're in a stagnant position, or sometimes we may feel that we are stagnant, and just like we are chanting Hare Krishna mantra for maybe decades, but we don't feel tired chanting the holy names, right? Do we? We still chant. Ravindra? Feel tired? Yeah, it's good. We don't feel tired. Yeah. And as we chant, we feel, and it's ever fresh. Like how Rupa Goswami was desiring millions and tongues and ears to hear and chant the holy name and to taste the holy name. If one is very sincere and serious, then from within that verse, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. What's the verse? Tesam satata yuktanam vajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mama payantite. But there was an interesting point in that verse where Jiva Goswami in this connection says the super soul exists in everyone's heart, but in the heart of the devotee he reveals himself as a ever increasingly new. Being inspired by him, the devotee experiences increased transcendental bliss in the execution of his devotional service. That is because what we understand from the Gita, that the super soul is the permitter, is overseer, is neutral, like that. But for the devotee, it's a little different. It inspires the devotee. So it's a little different. Yeah. And this is, to advance spiritually, to come out of the bodily concept of life, it requires association of devotees who are more advanced, and even if they're not very advanced, but we may not have that opportunity to be with very advanced devotees, but we can appreciate other devotees, and Krishna may reveal something to us via other devotees. There's a verse that from the 6th canto, chapter 2, text 38. Simply because I chanted the holy name of the Lord in the association of devotees, my heart is now becoming purified. Therefore I shall not fall victim again to the false lures of material sense gratification. Now that I have become fixed in the absolute truth, henceforward I shall not identify myself with the body. I shall give up the false conceptions of I and mine and fix my mind on the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is also mentioned here in the purport. But just by chanting, we've been chanting for many years. We were speaking about it yesterday, that by chanting for so many years you feel great bliss, and you'd find there is some level of purification, but it may not be what we like it to be, but at least we have advanced to some degree. All of us, we're chanting for so many years, and by chanting we can come to that point where we don't identify with the body. But that doesn't mean we don't take care of the body. And in this particular translation is talking about we can give up the false conception of I and mine, which is quite a challenge for most of us. And Prabhupada in the purport in the next in the next translation, he says, because of a moment's association with the devotees, he's talking about Ajamil, the Vishnu Dutas, Ajamil detached himself from the material conception of life with determination, and thus freed from all material attraction, he immediately started to Hardwar. So he didn't, worry about his wife and children. He just left. So that's also not an easy thing to do. Some, like Srila Prabhupada also left, his family, and he just proceeded on his mission. Even Gaur Govinda Maharaj left at a point, and just left and was gone. He left the responsibilities to the children and left, and preached Krishna consciousness. So we are fortunate that we live here in this temple, and we can make so much of advancement just by living in the temple. This is like Vrindavan, we often hear, and it's so nice that we sit in the morning and we're chanting. We hope that we had more time to chant in the morning, and sometimes I hope that the kirtan was shorter, that we can also chant longer. But the chanting is very beautiful. So it detaches us. But attachment is not, it's not easy to be detached also. But by the process of chanting Hare Krishna and associating with devotees, that's possible. There is a story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which on the 7th canto, where Hiranyakashipu is speaking about it, about a queen, who was lamenting the death of the king. And I'll read the verse itself. The time was appropriate for the body to be burned, but the queens, not allowing it to be taken away, continued lamenting for the dead body, which they kept on their laps. In the meantime, the sun completes its movement for setting in the west. So according to Vedic system, if somebody dies during the daytime, then it's customary to burn the body before the sun sets. Or if it dies in the night, then before sunrise. So that's what it's mentioned. But the queens, they were lamenting for just that lump of matter. And we find this. We go for many funerals, you find that the body is there. They may be silent for a while, but when the body is leaving, the husband is leaving, the body of the husband is leaving. I mean, like we experienced it so many times. They're lamenting. They start crying because they would not allow the body to be taken away. And we see the same thing here. And this is the strong grip of illusion amongst foolish persons who consider the body to be themselves. And because of ignorance, the queens thought if that the body were kept with the husband, they would remain with him, with them. So such conception is like, as Prabhupada explains it quite often, it's like such a conception of the self is certainly for Gokara, cows and asses. And there's a nice example given that the calf has died, but the milkman, he cheats the cow by presenting it before her dead body of a calf. Thus the cow would not otherwise allow milking, licks the dead body and allows herself to be milked. So it's interesting. So therefore, Prabhupada says, this substantiates the description of the Shastra that a foolish man in the bodily concept of life is like a cow. And he gives another example of a yogi, whose the disciples kept the body. They thought he was in samadhi, and and after a while, it was decomposing and it was smelling, and then they decided to burn it. But the bodily concept of life is very strong. Even scientists, which Prabhupada writes in the purport, sometimes freeze the bodies because in the future they're thinking that they may be able to bring it back to life. Yeah. So this incident with this queen and this king, it took place, millions of years ago, even before the appearance of Hiranyakashipu. Yeah. So therefore he's narrating it. So attachment is strong, and then I just went down and I read I was reading about Bali Maharaj, and I remembered that also, although he is a Mahajan, but his wives thought otherwise. And this is the verse: "O my Lord, you have created the entire universe for the enjoyment of your personal pastime, but foolish, unintelligent men have claimed proprietorship for material enjoyment. Certainly they are shameless agnostics, falsely claiming proprietorship. They think they can give charity and enjoy. In such a condition, what good can they do for you, who are the independent creator, maintainer, and annihilator of this universe?" So Bali Maharaj's wife was supporting the arrest of her husband. Because he had claimed proprietorship of the property of the Lord. So it's an interesting point, And Prabhupada writes in the purport, such a claim is a sign of demonic life. The demigods, although they are appointed by the Lord and they are attached to material enjoyment, but they don't claim to be the proprietors of the universe. because they know that the actual proprietor is the personality of Godhead, and that is the qualifications of the qualification of the demigods. But demons, they create all this nationalism, demarcations, and want to have exclusive proprietorship. This part is mine, that part is yours. We have so much problem here already in this world. So like that, there's so much to say on that point. Yeah, but I just want to read this part here. I found interesting. Bali Maharaj's wife accused Bali Maharaj by saying that although the Supreme Personality of God had arrested him, showing him extraordinary mercy, and although Bali Maharaj was offering his body to the Supreme Lord for the Lord's third step, he was still in the darkness of ignorance. Actually, the body did not belong to him, but because of his long-standing demoniac mentality, he could not understand this. He thought that since he had been defamed for his inability to fulfill his promise of charity, and since the body belonged to him, he would free himself from the defamation by offering his body. So it's a very nice way to be looked at. And Prabhupada quotes the verse from the Bhagavad Gita 1861. What's the verse? Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam. Here it is. Sarva Bhutani. Yeah. Yantra Rudani Maya. So this machine, is this body is a machine. The Lord is situated in the core of everyone's heart, and according to the material desires of the living entity, the Lord offers a particular type of machine, the body, to the agency of material energy. The body actually does not belong to the living entity. It belongs to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Under the circumstances, how could Bali Maharaj claim the body belonged to him? So the body belongs, like when we surrender to the spiritual master, then the body belongs to the spiritual master, and he uses the body to engage in devotional service. And that is how we become purified. But here we see also Swayambhu Manu had come to resolve the situation because Dhruva Maharaj was killing indiscriminately the yakshas. And therefore, when there's a conflict, that a third person is required. Because in a conflict, if two people are speaking, they're just defending themselves. And therefore you require the third person. Like, we can, even in our own Krishna consciousness, we have our spiritual master, and then we may have Shiksha Gurus and other people who we have faith in, who can help us when we are in a conflict. And generally people just justify themselves, when there's conflicts. Oh, this is the right thing, this is right, this is how it should be. And then this anger develops. I've been involved in, we went, when I was working, I had to go sometimes to to courts and things like that, and then they would then the arbitrator will try to resolve the situation, but often there would be so much anger, even when we just have arbitrations. People carry guns and they may want to shoot each other. So anger, it develops, and we find that Dhruva Maharaj was very angry, and Swayambhu Manu had to come and intervene, because that attachment is like very strong. especially if it's your brother. Like if somebody else get attacked, you may stay neutral, you may not do anything. But if your brother is getting attacked, what would you do? You'll act on it. There's a greater possibility you'll do something. Because that attachment is so deep. It's so strong. But for a pure devotee, he doesn't see it like that. He sees all as spirit souls. That's what the purport is about. Sees a spirit soul, and he's not really, you'd say, attached to just one particular person. So we need this from time to time, like, other people to help us when we are running into conflicts. And that's a lesson I took from this, and I was thinking about it more and more, that how attached we become sometimes, and how do we get free from this attachments, from wife, children. How do we do it? I'm asking a question. How would you do it? Yeah. So as you engage in the more and more we engage in devotional service, then we can become free from these things. And it may take a while. It may take a long while, but it's possible. And it could be quick also. But the whole idea is to become free from the bodily concept of life, and then come to our original constitutional position. Well, we are engaged in serving already, but really realizing our spiritual form is possible in this lifetime, and going back to Godhead. But we don't go and artificially find out, what is my spiritual form? We go to others and try to inquire. And sometimes devotees have deviated from the path, and they felt that they should stay at Radhakund. There was one devotee whom I knew very well, and he stayed at Radhakund, and he said he was chanting 64 rounds every day in 2 hours. I don't know. Possible? I don't know, anything is possible, but I couldn't accept it. But and it was So sometimes we can realize our original position, and we just have to follow the instructions of Srila Prabhupada and carry on. If you try to, it's like the example given is like, if you some people try to find out, and then they feel that they have a particular form in the spiritual world, but it's like a overgrown jackfruit, which is small, but it's like it's kacha, it's small. You can't really cook it. It's immature. So it's like that, and we mustn't get caught in that we artificially try to find out. If we're in the bodily concept of life, we just work with ourselves, chant more, read more, associate more, and then gradually one day we will go back home, back to Godhead. But by reading the pastimes of, like if we're very attached to, you're very attached, like the son is very attached to the mother. So to get free from it, you can read, Mother Yashoda's pastimes, and then the more you read, you'll actually become detached. You'll get more attached to Mother Yashoda. You're detached. Like that, if you had very attached to a lot of friendship, like you had lots of friends before you came to Krishna consciousness, but now you don't even think of them. Because you're hearing about Krishna, hearing about the coward boys, you get detached from that type of friendship. So thank you very much. I'll stop here. It's 8:24. We have a few minutes. Oh yeah. Okay, we'll stop. But anyway, any comments or questions? Jai Srila Prabhupada ki